Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nishtapraeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatu Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiti. So, Bhagavad Gita, we completed chapter 8 the other day. It's been some time since we discussed Bhagavad Gita. So today we'll start chapter 9. But looking at the last verse, accepts the path of devotion service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and futile activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So, after the most confidential knowledge. Text 1. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Idam Tute Guhyatamam Pravakshyami Anusuyave Jnana Vigyan Saitam Yagyatva Mokshasya Shubha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjun, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So this is the reason I read the last verse of 8th chapter, because most confidential knowledge. It's actually, this whole conversation is a continuation. It's a continuation of dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna. So where is the continuity? That's what I wanted to get to. Then Krishna in the previous verse says, I'll tell you about devotional service. So now he's saying, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization. And what will happen? Moksha se ashubhat, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Purport. As more about the supreme process is recommended in the Shiv Godhead. A full of tendencies can be realized if topics regarding the supreme Godhead are discussed amongst devotees. So, very nice line Prabhupada starts with. As a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. So the process is to hear more and more and more and more and more. Keep on hearing. Be achieved by the association, for it is realized knowledge. So realized knowledge means jnana vigyan sahitam. First we get the theoretical knowledge, we practically apply it, and then we get the realization. So this realization has to come, and it varies from person to person. Everybody's realization will be different. Everybody's experience will be different. Everybody's implementation of the same knowledge will be different. That depends on our various factors, actually. Depends on our determination, our sincerity, how we apply it. Depends upon our what kind of association we are in, how seriously we take this knowledge, how much faith we have in this knowledge. It varies from person to person. So same knowledge will have different results or different effects on different person. So one has to, the reason why I'm saying that, that reason, the result is with everybody. Like, suppose same thing. If Prabhupada is reading the same words and the same purport, obviously his understanding, his realizations will be different from mine. So we have to have lots of who are on this path. Everybody's realization will be different levels and different kind also at the same time. So we have to understand everybody's at a different level of advancement. So we all have to have patience when we deal with everybody, and we have to really be able to appreciate everybody's advancement wherever they are. At least they are advancing. More important. Just like in any class, there is a same teacher. Every student gets different marks when it comes to exam, and every student learns it differently. So if that is true for material knowledge, why not for spiritual knowledge? The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. Particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna and the association of devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very important, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. Lord Krishna, in order to encourage Arjuna to higher and higher elevation in his potent service, describes in this 9th chapter matters more confidential than he has already disclosed. So here Prabhupada says, the Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna in the association of devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very potent, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he'll surely make advancement. But again, association, which way we take, that will also help us make advancement at the pace that we take the association with. So everything will be different on the same path of bhakti. Everybody will be different. So, and Krishna said this is the most confidential knowledge. Let's see what Prabhupada talks about confidential and more confidential knowledge first. The very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, is more or less an introduction to the rest of the book. And in the second and third chapters, the spiritual knowledge described is called confidential. Topics discussed in the 7th and 8th chapters are specifically related to devotional service. And because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they're called more confidential. But the matters which are described in the 9th chapter deal with pure devotion. Therefore, this is called the most confidential. So again, topics discussed in 2nd and 3rd chapters, where the spiritual knowledge is discussed or described, and they are called confidential. Basically, the knowledge of soul and body. And when 7th and 8th chapters, where the chapters are specifically related to devotional service, so that is considered more confidential. But when it is when it describes or deals with unalloyed confidential knowledge. But one thing we'll really appreciate that like this is the month of um, Sankirtan, book distribution. And devotees go out on the streets all over the world and they distribute Bhagavad Gitas. Mostly it's Bhagavad Gita that we distribute. So if one says, oh Prabhuji, this is the most confidential knowledge Krishna is saying, and you are distributing it openly on the streets and all over the world, and you're just trying to give this most confidential knowledge to everybody without even discriminating based on caste, creed, color, sex, religion, whatever. It just doesn't add up. This is the most confidential knowledge that Krishna is giving. Well, the thing is, just like in 4th chapter, Krishna explained that to understand this knowledge, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena seva, to understand this knowledge, one has to approach a spiritual master. And then one has to serve him humbly and ask him questions, and he can impart this knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So even if the most confidential knowledge is there at our disposal, unless until we approach a spiritual master and we serve him and inquire from him submissively, we won't be able to even understand this most confidential. Just imagine, like for living in India, what would be the most confidential knowledge in India? That will be I would say the secrets of the nuclear weapon that India has. And can we imagine Prime Minister Modi going out and distributing those secrets openly in Chandni Chowk? No, he would not do that. Because people can misuse that knowledge, that secret. But this secret, which is the contribution, because first understand it without a guru, without serving a guru, and then they won't be able to misuse this most confidential. So this is the good part of the spiritual knowledge. Nobody can misuse it. One who is situated in the most confidential knowledge of Krishna is naturally transcendental. He therefore has no material pangs, although he is in the material world. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional stage of material existence, he is to be considered not even serving, but only a desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord. He is situated although he is situated in conditional stage of material existence, he is to be considered liberated because his desire is spiritual. Similarly, we shall find in the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, that anyone who is engaged in that way is a liberated person. Now, this first verse has specific significance. The word idam jnanam, this knowledge, refers to pure devotion service, which consists 9 different activities: chanting, remembering, serving, surrendering, everything. So that is the Navada Bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. By the practice of these 9 elements of devotion service, one is elevated to. So this practice So one has to keep on practicing these 9 elements and one can be elevated to spiritual consciousness. But then that practice has to be very sincere. Practice has to be without any ulterior motives, without any motive or desire of name, fame, power, position, prestige, money, whatever, without any of those uh, mixtures. It has to be done sincerely, purely. Then the result will definitely be there. Then the immediate result will be there. When one's heart is thus cleared of material contamination, one can understand the science of Krishna. Simply to understand that a living entity is not material is not sufficient. That may be the beginning of spiritual realization, but one should recognize the difference between activities of the body and the spiritual activities of one who understands that he is not the body. So one should recognize. So the beginning of spiritual realization is, yes, we are not this body, we are spirit souls, but we have to go further. Means activity is will be different. In the 7th chapter, we have already discussed the opulent potency of the Supreme Personality of God, his different energies, the inferior and superior natures, and all this material manifestation. Now in chapter 9, the glories of the Lord will be delineated. The Sanskrit Anasuyave in this verse is also us. Even if they are highly scholarly, are all envious of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the most erudite scholars write on Bhagavad Gita very inaccurately because they're envious of Krishna. The commentaries given by bona fide of the devotee are given by devotees of the Lord are bona fide. So Prabhupada is saying, and Anasuya. Anasuya means, and he can understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. And Prabhupada says, generally the commentary, they could be highly scholarly, but they are envious of Krishna. So how can somebody be envious of Krishna? Envious of Krishna in the sense that they don't understand position of Krishna. Want to understand. He is the proprietor of everything, he is the controller, he is the enjoyer of everything. But these so-called scholars, when they write their commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, when we say when they write their commentaries means because they are almost like 800 editions of Bhagavad Gita. People have written commentaries from different angles. So 8 entries on Bhagavad Gita. But out of those 800, most of them, 95, 96, maybe more percentage, would be from people who don't understand the position of Krishna, or who don't claim him to be God himself, claim him to be the Supreme Personality of God himself. So that's why when they depict Krishna's words, when they try to interpret his words in a wrong way, that doesn't give that doesn't do the words of Krishna. Why? Because they don't understand his position. They want to bring him down to their level. Because they also want name, fame, power, position, prestige, whatever it is. Actually, all these things belong to Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything comes from Krishna. In his service, whatever he wants to grant us in the form of name, fame, power, position, opulence, it's up to him. But the devotee never aspires for that because he's not envious of Krishna. Let Krishna enjoy everything. Why I have to take it? But the enviousness of Krishna does not lead them to understand Gita properly. And Prabhupada says, because they are envious of Krishna, their commentaries are useless. The commentaries given by devotees of the Lord are bona fide. No one can explain Bhagavad Gita or give perfect knowledge of Krishna if he is envious. One who criticizes the character of Krishna without knowing him is a fool. And there are so many people, they speak so nonsense about Krishna. That Krishna was a lusty boy and he danced with the wives of others in the middle of the night. He called them to meet him in the forest in the middle of the night. And he had physical relationships with others' wives and so on and so forth. Like once one person came to Prabhupada and he was talking bad about Krishna, that Krishna, how come he stole others' wives? He's not a moral person. Prabhupada just asked him, how many wives do you have? And this person got taken back. What kind of question Swamiji is asking? Prabhupada repeated his question. How many wives do you have? He said, one. Just one. I'm a moral person. I have only one wife. Prabhupada said, you're not moral, you're immoral. Because you have taken away Krishna's energy and you're using it in your service. Everything is Krishna's energy in trillion ways. What's the problem? It's all his energy. Everybody is a servant. Everyone is his energy. And energy is supposed to serve the energetic, the source of energy. But if I marry a girl, I cannot say this is my energy which I am going to enjoy, which is wrong, which is immoral. Anything in the material world actually does not belong to me. Everything belongs to Krishna. Because of some of my activities, Krishna, out of his costless mercy, he has put some energies under my care. That's all. Some energy means everything is energy, right? Earth, water, fire, air, made of these elements, intelligence, forms, separated and eight. So when it's energy of Krishna, it's of Krishna. When I think I am the enjoyer, and this energy is supposed to be used in my service, means I'm becoming envious of Krishna. And also it means I'm becoming a slave, becoming a thief. I'm trying to steal the energy of Krishna. If you are stealing the energy of Krishna, you are immortal. But that takes lots of conviction, lots of surrender to understand this knowledge and to be able to present it to others. For one who understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pure and transcendental personality, these chapters will be very beneficial. So this is very important. And this chapter, especially the 9th chapter, most confidential knowledge. Text 2. Rajvidya Rajaguyam Pavitramidamut Pratyakshavgamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartam King of education. Rajvidya. And then Rajgoyam, again he says, the most secret of all secrets. It's the purest knowledge, and because it gives the direct perception of the self by realization, it is a perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. Susukum kartum avyayam. So this knowledge is a king of education, Raj Vidya. There's nothing beyond this. This is the topmost knowledge of pure devotional service, and the most secret of all secrets. This is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, when he had to talk about Bhakti Yoga, he kept in the middle 6 chapters. So first 6 chapters is Karma Yoga, and last 6 chapters are Jnana Yoga, and middle 6 Yoga. If a book is there, so the cover is there from both sides. So both sides, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga is covering Bhakti Yoga, which is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. It is also kept in the middle because just like a very valuable gem is kept hidden inside the lock, not for everybody to see, or Bhakti Yoga to be away from people who are just scholarly trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. It's the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it's a perfection of religion. So this is the perfection of religion. Perfection of religion is not become the Hindu or Muslim or Christian. No, that's not perfection of religion. Perfection of religion is when we understand Krishna and engage ourselves in his pure devotional service. Nothing to do with Hindu or Christianity or Islam. It's about the relationship of the soul with the Supreme Lord. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautam, Kanad, Kapil, Yagyavalkya, Shandilya, and Vaishvanar. And finally, there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. It's the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. So, king of knowledge and proper describing that. But this philosophy given in this chapter is even better than what Vyasadeva is given. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They are educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and huge universities, but there is, unfortunately, no university or education institution where the science soul is an important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the body necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. So this is confidential and topmost knowledge. And Prabhupada is saying, no university all over the world teaches about this knowledge. Oh, is a soul. But no university that teaches about soul. Everywhere we go, they teach about the subject matter related to the body and how to use those subject matters in the service of our body. Means if you can get a nice job because based on our education, we think, oh, it's a wonderful knowledge because I got a job and I can maintain my body and the bodily relationships. But that's not considered the confidential knowledge. It only pertains to the body. That's it. And this knowledge, whatever pertains to the body, is temporary because the body is temporary. And whatever results we can obtain from this are very, very easy. It's not a whole lot of results we can obtain. Only thing we can have is this comfortable life. If even that is possible by our karmas, then we can have comfortable life. That's about it. But this most confidential knowledge of pure devotional service, starting from the soul and the body, gradually elevating us to pure devotional service, it not only, like in the previous verse, it is said, moksha se ashubhat, means all the material miseries come to an end. And not just we back to God. From where nobody comes back into the material world. Can we say the material knowledge takes away all the material miseries? No. They actually add on to the miseries. How? If somebody has good knowledge in the material nature, material science, or material energies, so chances are he will be making a good living, maybe earning a little bit more than the others. If somebody has, suppose, good knowledge of rocket science or brain surgery or other similar wonderful subject matters, so he would be making good money and leading a comfortable, so-called comfortable life. But if that comfortable life, because we know any material prospect is temporary, any material advancement is temporary. So if that comfortable life is taken away from that person, somehow or other, maybe now, maybe at the time of death, or maybe before that, because of disease or because of his own karmic cycle, if that facility is taken away from that person, the person will be more miserable than if he never had those facilities. So that's why this material knowledge actually doesn't reduce our problems, it increases our problems. Because it also makes us more and more attached to our material assets, material prosperity. So when we are more attached to it, lower birth in the same house or same property, lower than the human beings. So actually the material knowledge increases our material miseries. It is a spiritual knowledge, and spiritual, not just a knowledge, practices, which decreases our material miseries. So that's why they consider the king of education. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable. and the soul is not perishable. That is a confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body and that when the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually that is not a fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? It's always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active. And its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. These activities, the spirit soul, are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of all knowledge. So the knowledge of soul and body is good, it's confidential, but the most confidential is knowledge of the activities of the soul in the spiritual world, which is devotion service. Activities of the soul means devotion service. Simple as that. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities as explained in the Vedic literature. In the Padma Puran, man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the result of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in particular fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of tree is sown, the tree does not immediately to this fire, but its first form of a tree. The flowers and fruits are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act and like seed, it takes time to fructify the sin, but the results of the fruit of that sinful action are still to be emitted. There are sins which are still in the form of seed, and there are others which are already fructifying, giving us. So, so this is sinful activity, means a person who does something sinful and he has to take the reaction, maybe even after his sinful inclination is gone, but the activities that he has done, he has to still suffer from the reaction. Or maybe the sinful tendencies are there in the form of seed. But that is all because of ignorance. A person who has knowledge, he goes well beyond it. It's a very long purport because it's very important words. So I'll try to cut short. As explained in 28th verse of 7th chapter, a person who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. So this is what Nectar of Devotion also says. One who is engaged in devotional service, all his prarabdha, aprarabdha, kuta, bij, all those sinful inclinations are completely gone. But one has to be engaged in devotion service, in pure devotion service. One has to be engaged without any tinge of anything else. Then those seeds of those inclinations will be gone. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. This is what in the verse it is said that one one gets a direct perception of the self. And probably we have practical experience of that. If one engages not only in hearing, but in trying to broadcast the message of devotional activities as well, or if he engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels spiritual progress. So one can feel, one can, and there is a way to quantify the progress in spiritual path. Quantify means to measure it, to, to value it. How? It is said that the more our material attachments are reducing, means more we are making progress in bhakti. So that is the way to know if you're making advancement or not. Devotion service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotion service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. So simply by engaging in the activities of devotion service. In fact, talking about this, you all must have heard of our leader, freedom fighter leader, Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya. He was a great scholar, great freedom fighter. So he used to live in Banaras, and he had heard of our Saraswati Thakur. This was Guru of Srila Prabhupada. So Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya had heard of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he went to meet him in Calcutta. So, and Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj was like sitting outside in the out courtyard of the house or the ashram, and Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya arrived. Madan Mohan Malviya is also a very known personality. So he came to Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj and he said, Maharaj, I have a few questions that I want to ask. So Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj first said, okay, well, before any questions, why don't you go inside and go and see him first? And Madan Malviya ji, he was very surprised. What is this Swamiji saying? He said, no, Swamiji, I have questions for you. I want to discuss something philosophically. And Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said, no, okay, we will discuss everything. Why don't you still go ahead and talk to my cook first, meet him first? Madan Mohan Malviya ji thought, okay, that's fine. If he's insisting on it, let me go inside and meet his cook. So he went inside the kitchen and met the cook and introduced himself. I'm Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya. And the cook said, okay, I don't know anything, Madan Mohan Malviya or anything. I don't know I don't have any philosophical knowledge. But if you are in already, so why don't you help me in cleaning all these pots that are used for cooking? So Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, that kind of scholar, he sat there and he started cleaning the pots. And then obviously the cook was doing more cooking and he brought more pots, and Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya cleansed all the pots very nicely. And he gave them back to the cook. And then cook said, okay, now the pots are clean, now you can go outside and see the Guru. Meet Guru. So Madan Mohan Malviya came outside and he met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj asked him, so what are your questions? And Madan Mohan Malviya said, all my questions are answered. So this is the result of engaging in devotion service. This is what Prabhupada is saying. Devotion service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotion service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. Simply by being engaged. It's not like one has to study all the scriptures to get enlightened. Not necessarily. This is devotional service. And Prabhupada gives the example of Narad Muni. A practical example of this can be seen in the previous life of Narad, who in that life happened to be the son of a maid servant. He had no formal education, nor was he born in a high family. But when his mother was engaged serving great devotees, Narad also became engaged. And sometimes in the absence of his mother, he would serve the great devotees himself. And as we read about Narad Muni, he happened to eat the remnants of food left by all these sages who came to visit his house. And that's how he made advancement. Just by serving those sages and by eating their remnants. The word dharma means a path of religion. Narad was actually a son of a maid servant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother. And fortunately, his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narad also got the opportunity and simply by association achieved the highest goal of all religion. The highest goal of all religion is devotional service, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service. So generally the religious people, those who are just doing the rituals, they don't know what's the goal of all these principles of perfection of religion is. The process of devotional service is a very happy one. Susukham. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting one can learn, then one can eat the remnants of food offered to God. Nice, palatable dishes in every state, devotional services. And proper, just like it was in Philadelphia temple, some lady came to interview Prabhupada. She was a reporter or journalist. And Prabhupada was sitting in the room and surrounded by all his disciples. The lady asked her the question, what do you do? I mean, what are the activities of all of you? And Prabhupada was in a wonderful mood that day. Obviously, he was always in transcendent mode, but that day he was in a joking mood. So he told the lady that we chant and dance. This is our activity. And when we get tired, we sit down and take prasada. That's all we do. And all the devotees around him, they just went up in the air, Hari Bol! They shouted, everybody like that. Because this is what, who can be sad while dancing in Kirtan? It cannot happen. It's not that dancing makes us happy. It's the happiness inside us makes us dance. This goes on so many marriage processions going on in front of all these band baja walas and in the traffic on the road. They are dancing, they're trying to dance, they all are drunk and dancing, whatever way they are. Because they think the dancing will make them happy. It's not like they are really happy inside, that's why they're dancing. It's not that. On the other hand, devotees in the temple are also dancing in the kirtan. But there's the listening to the kirtan, being in the association with devotees, taking that he himself wants to dance, jump up and down and dance and run around the whole temple hall. And kirtan, people are playing mridanga and kartal. Because it gives one happiness, the real happiness that one is looking for. And that's when he starts dancing. And there is no comparison between the dancing in the temple and dancing in the marriage party. There's no comparison. Although the physically it looks like the activity is same. So this is devotion service. So the last line of the purport, there's a process of devotion service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It's the purest form of religion and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. So I'll stop here. See anybody has any question or comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I want to know that these 9 elements, which you said, the Shravan, Kirtan, and so on, this should be there. All the 9 elements should be there in a person to do a bhakti, or either of the element can.
Either of the element can give the topmost perfection. Just like there are examples of who did what. Like Shravanam, Maharaj Parikshit did the Shravanam part. He heard and he became perfect. Kirtanam, Shukdev Goswami, he spoke Bhagavatam. Became perfect. Smaranam was Prahlad Maharaj. He just remembered the Supreme Lord. Shranam Vishnu, Kirtan Vishnu Swaranam, Pada Sevanam.
Archan, Vandan, and Dasya, Sakhya, Atma.
So Pada Sevanam was done by Lakshmi ji. Archanam was, I'm not remembering Archanam, but Archanam Vandanam was Akrur ji. Archanam Vandanam, Dasyam is Hanuman ji. Sakhyam is Arjun. Arjunam, Dasyam, Sakhyam. Atam Nivedanam is, what's his name? Bali Maharaj. And then there's Ambarish Maharaj, who did all 9. Yeah. So these are the examples of the one particular process who did and achieved perfection.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So I guess we can stop here.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, ma'am. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.